Добрый день, уважаемые зрители, участники.
Good day, distinguished guests, partners, colleagues. I'm glad to see all of you here. I see familiar faces. I didn't see some of you for a long time. Some people I saw just recently. So we had different panel sessions during these days. We were speaking about creative economy. We were speaking about fund management. We were speaking about asset tokenization, legal services, finances. This is good, but this is all about money. Money shall be earned, and of course, money and resources are earned in regions. And I am from Ekibastus town. It's a mono town, and nobody knows about financial services there, but we have a good potential there. We produce, we earn there. I worked a year in Temirtau, which is also mono town. And we in our session speak about regions. So I worked in Temirtau for a year. I lived there for 2.5 years. I developed also Shymkent city. I lived there as well. So this topic is very close to me, and I understand how life in regions happens. And actually, there are lots of opportunities in these cities and towns. Yes, we see Almaty, Astana, we see big cities. Let's take Shymkent. The population there is very big, and there are lots of opportunities. So just before this session yesterday, we met with speakers, and I want you to listen to our speakers because I received so much information. I consider myself as a wise and knowledgeable person, but still I received lots of insights. And for example, there are regular flights of Air Astana, and you can even send commercial goods by these regular flights of Astana. I mean, there are lots of things that should be heard. We have our speakers, and they are specialists in their areas. So I'm pretty sure you will receive useful information, and nobody will be disappointed by our 40-minute session. So, and I think that nobody will think that these four speakers are not good. They are excellent, and you will be happy to hear all the ideas. So, first of all, I would like to express gratitude to the sponsors of our forum, Freedom Broker, Kaz Minerals, and ITS. Thank you for your support and for supporting our forum. So, I have already did this introduction. Now, I would like again to represent our speakers. Jandos Shaikhe, who is deputy chairman of Bayterek Holding. He will tell about the projects, about different examples. We discussed Ekibastus, Saran, and some other towns, some other cities. We also have representative of e-commerce Tezz, if I do it right, Dinar Khusnullin. Tezz works very well, Tezz, or Tezz. And we have Kairat Yelamanov, who is president of Industries Union of Kazakhstan. So as for industry, this is a very interesting topic, and I was satisfied with the information that colleagues shared with us. Now I would like to give the floor to Jandos Shaikhe, who is deputy chairman of Bayterek Holding. I would represent Jandos as an economist. He has a very good experience in Invest Bank, and usually all bankers, they understand economy, the structure, they understand everything with regard to it. And I think it would be very interesting to listen to him. So my question to you is, what regions of Kazakhstan today become investment centers, and what are the drivers of the whole process? So please. Thank you so much, distinguished guest. I'm glad to greet all of you here. Thank you for giving me opportunity to speak about the activity of our Bayterek Holding and our subsidiaries. I will speak about regional development and about the growth of economy, and we will speak about Bayterek contribution to all this growth. I'll tell about the tendencies and dynamics that we observe now, and of course, we'll speak about the problems that we face. And despite the problems, we see the opportunities for growth in these regions, for making investment, for earning money. Baurzhan holding is one of the main tools of state policy in economic area, and as it is, we do a broad contribution to all economy sectors, except extraction of natural resources. We have more than 50 classifiers of economic activity, so we deal with processing, industry, infrastructure, and we provide loans, funds, financing, guarantees, insurance, leasing, capital to different projects all over Kazakhstan. We focus only in Kazakhstan. You know, the economy growth in this year is 6.3% since the beginning of the year. It's a very good indicator if we compare with the last year's indicator. And it means that in Kazakhstan and in Kazakhstani economy, there are lots of opportunities for investments into the real sectors of economy. Out of 20 regions, 3 cities, 17 regions, we have different dynamics. In some regions and locations, we have bigger or less or about zero. And the locomotives from our point of view are the following. So now 8 trillion tenge, this is financing, it's about $16 billion. So we provide these funds to the economy of Kazakhstan, and mainly this is through subsidies or through some beneficial funding. Short-term needs for long-term needs up to 20 years. Discounts, again, depending on the tools, areas, and financial products, could be up to 75% from the market rates. For example, agriculture, we provide loans with 5% per annum, while market rates in tenge would be more than 20%, as we all know. Speaking about regions, we see the high dynamics. Almost a third of our portfolio since this year were given to Karaganda region. More than 30% from our 1 trillion tenge that Baurzhan contributed to the economy of Kazakhstan. Carmet, metallurgy sector, processing, and other different new enterprises, for example, tire enterprise. Let's speak about Saran. Saran is a mono city. It received different subsidies before. In Kazakhstan, we have special programs on the development of such single industry towns or mono towns. In Kazakhstan, there are 10 mono towns or single industry towns that depend on one specific enterprise. They have limited opportunities for the development, for business, for growth, for people, but there is a specific program that helps to counter this, so that would allow new investors to come, would give some specific authorities. Central bodies would allocate more money to have less towns like this. And there are regular meetings, there are intermediate meetings, there are some specific goals, plans, and so on. I participated in the meeting recently with the participation of our Prime Minister and Akims of these monotowns. And this meeting was held in Saran monotown. Why? Because Saran showed very good dynamics, and due to the efforts of Akimat and central state bodies, government, and businessmen that opened the enterprise there. It didn't happen over a year. We, on our side, supported, financed through leasing, through loans. We present all our tools, and we will launch several enterprises, like small size, middle size, with the participation of foreign and our Kazakhstani local businessmen. And now Saran is not monotown. We see that there is not enough people. We see that people are coming to the city because there are some open vacancies. So Saran is a very good example. It's not the only one. We have tens of such monotowns, and gradually, I give this as an example. For example, Saran monotown, and I want to say that it is possible to make the situation beneficial for businesses, for Akimats, and for us, for government, for quasi-state sector. Silk Road electronics plant, buses, tires, bus techno, assembly of buses. I think that people know here because there was information media about all of this project. Actually, I forgot. And we have a plant, a tire plant there, Kama Tires. Now it's called Tengri Tires. In Ekibastus, we have railway, ferroalloys. Besides Saran, there are, of course, other examples. Ekibastus, for example, Rudny. We see lots of enterprises opening in Ekibastus because there is a cheap coal and access to cheap energy, which is a basis for industry, as we all know. There are such industrial enterprises like ferroalloy plants because they need lots of energy. Then energy sector is being developed very good. Now there is a construction of new energy blocks at the existing power plant. And we will receive not expensive energy, not only for Ekibastus, but for the whole Kazakhstan. I mean, excess of energy could be exported. Due to Ekibastus and our deposits, we are competitive if we speak about the electricity. Of course, we need to unleash this potential, but it depends on the entrepreneurs or businessmen's initiative, because all of these are private projects. Well, we also provide some funds to the development of the project. So these businessmen are produce products that are competitive at a global market with good margin, with good profitability parameters. This is the other example. Ekibastus is the other example of monotown that transforms and now is no more monotown, but it is growing and being developed. Identification of these competitive advantages is one of the important aspects if we speak about analysis and approach to the development of the regions in Kazakhstan. I mean, everything is done at the governmental level, and of course here we need to attract investors from foreign countries, our local investors, and we need to speak about our competitive advantages. In different regions, there are different competitive advantages. For example, tourism, energy, or workforce. In the south of Kazakhstan, we have regions with the excess of, or with not very expensive workforce. I mean, each region has its own competitive advantage. We have a very good example. By the way, now we are moving to the discussion format. We agreed that we will give some comments. We have good examples. Based on my previous work experience, there are startups on coal optimization. Where these startups there are startups on coal optimization, because each process is unique. You need to understand business process. You might be surprised, but these startups are not in Almaty or Astana. Because yes, Shymkent, they could do it. They are able, not having coal, but have startups. But in Karaganda, there are lots of startups. Startups are developed where we have pilot. Gazprom Automatica, they are in Karaganda and they optimize coal processes. Then in Ekibastus, can you imagine Ekibastus and startup? But there are companies. They are operating in this cluster. But these companies, they are not public because, for example, Gazprom Automatica, I'm pretty sure you have never heard about this company, but they don't need it. They have their coal basin. And by the way, it's not startup anymore. It's a big corporation, Gazprom Automatica. They do very good projects. Then Global Coffee, it's a very good example. This person comes from Shymkent. This potential, I mean, over a short period, Global Coffee grew by their numbers. Now it's one of the largest coffee shops. And it's a simple guy. His name is Ayat. He's from Shymkent. He launched this coffee shop. And now this is very popular coffee shop. I mean, you can be from region and you can work in region very successful, and you can have company which is bigger by its size and operation rather than companies Almaty, Astana. Baltic Steel or Baltic Style, there is other companies that produces carpets or makes carpets in Shymkent. Good examples, lots of examples. And if you want to open a company, you could go to region and you could earn there. We have also our second speaker. I call him a foreign investor, so Tezz platform. Tezz is a marketplace. Are we uploading this application? Yeah, please upload. Tezz is a marketplace that works focusing on regions. And now we have Linar. We ask him to share his experience. Could you tell us what regions have bigger numbers? For example, Linar has said that they sent their goods using regular flights of Air Astana. Please, Linar, the floor is given to you. Could you? Yes, you know, we are a Kazakhstani company. For 100%, we have Kazakhstani founders, but we have also legal entities in the US, and we help countries to launch e-commerce, focusing on regions. Yeah, Kazakhstan is a developed country, but many countries, developing countries in the world, they have a specific economic structures. Regions have more growth in economy due to demographic parameters. I mean, they have a higher birth rate rather than in the capitals. So that's why in the regions there is a high demand. And to cover this demand, I mean, there are less companies to cover this demand. For example, in Almaty, in Astana, there are lots of different services, starting from food delivery up to everything. People would come to you and clean your shoes if you want. But in the regions, quite often, for example, even food delivery from shops could be provided just by one company and also not everywhere.
Well, in the regions, most of the times, maybe salaries are less. I think from 10 to 30%. But you cannot really spend a lot, and regions are not that spoiled. So that is why we have spotted the trend. That is why we are developing this trend. And when marketplace with our Kazakhstani partners had been launched here, this pattern actually did work. Well, 1 tenge is actually... Well, actually, the regions or the other cities, if you compare with Almaty or Astana, it's going to be quite cheaper in marketing and campaigns, etc. In some of the regions, roads weren't really ideal, and we were so lucky that we looked at the roadmap, the master plan of Kazakhstan, when we have seen how Kazakhstan is developing and where is it going. And we were lucky to launch at the time when infrastructure had been built. And between Karaganda, where the fulfillment center is, until Almaty, you can actually drive for 10 hours. And 3 years ago, it would take you a day. So this is how we implement shipment logistics all over Kazakhstan. Well, but at the same time, to any region, any city, you can get within a day. And Karaganda is developing its logistics and developing airport as well. Every morning, there's airplanes that is flying, and most of the times the luggage compartment is empty, so you can deliver your goods through these flights. And then you can develop the logistics, and you can actually compete with companies who have started from the capital. Most of the marketplaces, they are focused on capital, and they're like 50 or 60% of the sales that is in Almaty. And 20% is Astana, and the rest is in all over Kazakhstan. But if you correlate it with the population, it's actually vice versa. This is the business niche that a lot of enterprises started realizing and trying to go. Concentration is not that high. You need to go to every single district and region, but at the same time, you will work and you will have the competitive advantage if you do that. Thank you so much. I would like to also have a look. If I'm not mistaken, in the list of sports, Forbes 2024, more and more people from our region. If I'm not mistaken, there is a family from Ekibastos. I will count how many of them are the people from our region, so which means that it is possible to be in Forbes. And the next speaker, I will be counting, and I will, while Kairat Yelamanov, President of Union of Industrial Investors of Kazakhstan, will be elaborating on his own topic. We have chosen this person because whole country is the raw material base. It's Kızılorda, Turkestan, Ekibastos, whole Kazakhstan is actually the raw material. If you could tell us some success stories. I would like to elaborate on the union. We start accompanying, supporting the investment projects from scratch till the end. We have enterprises that exist more than 10 years overall. We started elaborating on the development of the region. For example, in Saran, there's a assembly of the heavy machinery, which became the anchor industry. It scaled up and it had been expanded, and they have also Open Silk Road electronics together with Uzbekistan partners, and recently they had launched Samsung manufacturing. And all these three projects were actually led by us. We were going to Tatarstan. We worked with Tatarstan Oil. We were contacting with authorities. We tried to support on all of the stages, including the working with authorities. I would like to also mention that nowadays for investors, especially the regions, are more favorable, I should say, and attractive than big cities like Almaty and Astana. In Almaty, of course, there is a separate cluster, especially in car manufacturing. There are three enterprises: Hyundai, Astana Motors Manufacturing. Yes, it is developed very well there, but there are some limitations, including logistics, accessibility of the forces, workforces and labor forces, high level of the salary. So that is why investors are trying to choose the regions with the cheaper labor force, and accessibility with the logistics is the favorable aspect. In Saran, for example, we're not talking about monocities. If we will talk about regional cities as well, in Kostanay, Semey, The car manufacturing is developing very well, as you know. Sarakavtoprom, Gramage Holding, for example. Kamlit, for example, had entered there, and they are developing, manufacturing the spare parts. It's a very serious cluster of the car manufacturing. Simei is developing. There's a plant Deobas and Simas, and there are many things, many suppliers for the components and the spare parts had emerged. Now they're working on the different components of the cars, and I think that the region itself is not that important for the investor. The most important thing is the activity or activeness of the authorities. And government is working very well in this regard. So there is a sufficient number of the preferences, stimulus, and incentives, and there are special investment contracts and investment contracts. It's the new tool that is in effect for couple of years. The most important thing is to attract the investors and support them all the way through. And now government is working quite flexibly, in a more flexible fashion. There are no issues, and of course there might be decisions made regarding the investors. So I would like to also highlight the competitiveness in the region, and when investor is trying to enter to the market and compare with Kazakhstan, of course, our biggest competitor is Uzbekistan, and our advantage is being in the Eurasian free zone. So it'll be great if investment climate would be researched by government. I would like to comment on that. We do monitor. Of course, we understand that competitiveness for international investment, it's the direct foreign investment is quite tough in the world. And it is clear in Kazakhstan, if you look at the region C5, for example, Central Asian 5 countries are different. We have competitive advantages compared to other Central Asian countries. We have more than 20 years of investment ranking of the investment grade, which is the milestone of our financial sector, of government. We, of course, quite attractive. We had proven through our contracts that we had concluded. We have concluded big contracts in our 90s. There are more than 20 years, and all the investors who came to oil and gas sector, as we know, Chevron, Exxon, etc., they feel very well. And Kazakhstan for them is the green country. I worked 19 years in Citibank, and Citibank, the financial investor in Kazakhstan, is comfortable. It had done a lot for Kazakhstan, for economy, and shareholders are in a win-win situation. Well, in Uzbekistan, yes, Uzbekistan is developing quite fast. It seems like Uzbekistan is developing, but Kazakhstan is, the level of Kazakhstan is way higher. But it's not the reason to be relaxed. We are tracking. It's not only Uzbekistan. Well, we need to work with whole world. And we understand that we compete with the whole world for the investments, and our head, Vice Prime Minister, and the coordinator of the Baurzhan had already mentioned it on plenary session. We see that the GDP is growing, economic indicators are 11% higher than previous year, and economic growth is actually speeding up. What does it mean for us, for people on this planet? So it means that in economy there are many opportunities emerging, and there's a demand for commodities, for goods, in order to open businesses, and you can actually open business and render services or provide goods, and we finance all of it. We also finance infrastructure. We also invest in the roads, transportation, railways, infrastructure, the utilities. In the regions we have, maybe it's a news for you, plants are opening in a row, one by one, because there's something is lacking, because we cannot commission the plant, because infrastructure is not ready. We have a program, national program, that is trying to address those issues fundamentally. Last year in December, government had adopted national project MAX, modernization of energy and utility sectors. It's the pool of the projects that will be investing into the infrastructure, heating, water, just sewage, drainage, and everything. It's both for civil sector and for the industrial sector and commercial all over Kazakhstan. More than 200 monopolist companies that are rendering services. They will have opportunity to attract investment amounted to more than $13 billion, and we are the operators. Baurzhan is the operator of these projects, and we are issuing the bonds on Kase in our subsidiary, and we have bought from mayor's offices, Karaganda, northern Kazakhstan region, Pavlodar and Karaganda, where we will be building and modernizing infrastructure. Why we are elaborating on this topic? There is a term, time to market. If you mention that you can catch up actually with big players when it comes to the engineering and transportation and communications, and the channels, etc. You couldn't build really cities within 10 years. But nowadays, if you look at Astana, for example, in an ideal world, you could have built a city within a short period of time. And competences, because you see the developers becoming better and better. Because BI, for example, had been building 5 years ago. And now, if you compare it, the quality is way better now. So I think if you could use the tools, Aladao City, for example, that we're building, it's a new city. Of course, we understand that there was a city that existed, but this is the ambition of the country that allows, which is justified by the capital, technologies, and need, because there is a need. Our population is growing in our country. It's a very interesting thing, actually, paradoxic thing, because Kazakhstan is a country with a high index of the human development. According to the UN standards, it depends on the education and level of the income. We are high middle income country with 1,000 for $4,000 per capita, I think, according to the statistics. Well, we had this topic actually. We have regions where GDP is 2 million tenge. In other words, one person in the region would produce 4 iPhones. So, which means that within 90 days, I would produce iPhone. What is the GDP, for example? I could produce, for example, a spare part. This is what I can produce. It's just a small cover. So I produce one iPhone within 90 days. Just imagine. It is not a good thing. We love infographics. We don't really read text nowadays. So I would like to also say that thanks to long-term investments from the government side to the infrastructure, the price is actually going to go lower and lower, and we will have cheaper means to build business and open a business. So we are going to repair and finance through Kazakh more than 5,000 kilometers of roads through us. The monetary funds are sent for the renovation of the roads, and of course it is significantly will improve the accessibility. We produce one iPhone, all of us together. We do something, and then at the end we will have only one iPhone within 90 days. We sell it for 500,000, and then we need to also split it to all of us. And this is something that, well, but there is an advantage that high technology development and the copyrights, if it was an iPhone, if we were producing iPhone, that would be the advantage. But I understand that it is important to produce something with the high level of the know-how, and I would like to express gratitude to Development Fund, and you can have a leasing, and in this regard, I guess there shall be some criteria regarding the complexity of the manufacturing and criteria on the high added value of the produced products. I think in this regard, you are the person who is already developed. We have a development index or development score that we try to finance the projects with the benefits and thanks to the government ownership and government participation.
Those that would increase the labor efficiency. So in Kazakhstan, labor efficiency is $15 per hour. This is quite a modest indicator. It's lower than in Russia and in some other countries. And our task is to have workers who would produce more expensive goods and services, so that complexity of our industry would grow, so that the development index would grow. And this is all in our hands because, as you all know, we have 3 automobile manufacturing plants this year. Car production industry is developing. We have 8 agricultural equipment and machine production. We have 3 plants, car plants like Kia, Allure, and multi-brand Astana Motors. Can I give a comment? We have 8 car plant, 3 for cars, and yes, speaking about agricultural machines, we also have like self propelled machines, and there are some other loaded and other machines and equipment. Yes, but the main idea is the following one. Each of these plant, I mean, initially they just do the assembly. For example, we would just fix the cars, right? But would fix the tires or the wheels. But then there are some specific requirements now, so that to preserve the benefits, each plant should increase the complexity of processes. I mean, the share of local content should be higher. It means that panels or some other parts like wheels, tires, everything should be produced or bought here in Kazakhstan. We know, for example, the automobile of internal combustion has about 5,000 components. It's one of the difficult, difficult things that is produced. That's why everybody is talking about this car industry, or like, we have in China and Europe and so on. And Kazakhstan chose this interestingly specifically. We have 4 million of cars, and with a long term of let's say, operation. I mean, in Astana, in Almaty, we have new cars. That's good. But if we go to regions, we see the old cars, and we need to change our market. The same situation is in the neighboring countries and in Russia. On one hand, it's a problem. On the other hand, it's a great opportunity, and that's why the government chose this industry. We invited investors. Baurzhan provided funding, and then in future, I think it will be even more. So we need to localize, we need to produce, and we as Baurzhan, as Damu, we have 9 subsidiaries, we have different programs, and we provide beneficial funding for this processing industry. We have about 1 more minute, and we need to finish. In conclusion, dear colleagues, you know that example that we gave you, $15, 2 million is GDP. I want you to remember this number. I want you to have the specific feeling, empathy. I want all of us would have this wish to produce more. Let us think about this number. But, all changes would start from our own. So, for example, here, let's say, we need to start this discussion and this process. So every time now when you go to your working place, we just kindly ask everybody to be more efficient. If each of us would now produce not for $15 but $150, then we can speak that we do our changes by ourselves. We have tools from Baurzhan, we have all these preferences, we have these special economic zones and some other industrial zones. There are lots of opportunities, and I think that tomorrow we always have more opportunities than today. If we haven't done something today, well, it's not that bad. We will be having more tomorrow. I found that person from Forbes list. I'm not going to name his name, but this is families. They have 227 million. We don't have information here that they're from Ekibastos, but I know this family, their parents, and it would be very interesting to know about them maybe in some years. They are in Forbes, and again, I think that there are many people like this, and this is a very good example how you can move from the region to the Forbes list. But again, it cannot be done just overnight. They have been working for it for 20 years. When I was a child, they have started, and they were already doing their activities. And I have one story. It's about 1 minute. It's about investment climate. We came to work to the region, we invested, we opened different storage facilities, complexes, and then unknown number would call me, and he tells me, I am the chief prosecutor from Karaganda region, and I was really scared, and the person says, I am calling you on behalf of Akim of the region, and if you have any problem, if there are some things, please make a call to me, and we will try to help you. So this is about business climate for investors. Thank you. Thank you so much, dear friends, for your attention. I hope that you liked our session and you enjoyed it. Thank you.